Left in Kentucky, the podcast of Indivisible Northern Kentucky. Welcome back, everybody. No, it's been a little bit since we've been with you. We told you it might be a while. We did not lie.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
And with me is this is Roberto Henriquez, of course. And with me, as always, is the lovely and talented Miss Ann Dickerson.
Hey, everybody.
And the also lovely and talented Miss Amy Ferguson.
Hello.
So, how you guys been?
Groovy.
Groovy?
I'm glad the primary is over.
Yeah, primary season. We're finally past primary season. Gotta love that.
But it's crazy because there's so little time to recover compared to what there have been in years past.
I know it's with moving it. It's thrown everybody's schedule off. So. But before we get into that, we will be talking about the primary and primary results coming up. But before that, we have our usual segments that everybody loves, our cow patties and our bullhorn. So let's see, cow patties. Who wants to start with the cow patties?
Ooh.
I can.
Okay, why don't you start, Miss Ann?
Is this a new person, Ann, or is it someone you've heard of before?
Oh my God.
Somebody we've never heard of.
It's gonna come across like I have this personal vendetta. But this man just cannot shut up and act like a decent human being. I can't stand it anymore. My cow patty goes to Damon Thayer again. I mean, I know he's a horse track fan. He owns horses. He's invested, la la la. But there is not a bigger horse's ass on the planet than him. And there's some reason there's that connection in his life. And there are literally a litany of things that I could go off on about him since the last time that we did our podcast. But number one is going to be this, because it's the main topic of our whole day today, which is he is actively promoting hashtag normal in November. And
like he would know normal if it hit him over the head. Sorry.
Right. He posted...
She can't even get through it.
I can't help it. He posted this just dorky selfie on Twitter where it's a close up. I mean, like his face is just wham right there. like he just held it out far enough to fit the majority of his face in the screen. And it's obvious that he's sitting in his car and he puts, "I voted in person today, and while it was very smooth process in Scott County, I'll be urging a return to hashtag normal in November, hashtag voting matters." And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, dude.
He's a poster child.
Yeah, do you read a freaking newspaper? I mean, seriously, we had almost record turnout. The turnout where he was like a quarter, if that, of the overall vote, because so many people voted using the absentee ballot, mail-in ballot system that was developed. I mean, was it perfect? No. But it certainly helped to keep people safe. It certainly helped avoid lines and crowds and all kinds of things. And we have the numbers climbing again for COVID. And this jackhole is talking about normal in November.
Okay, so let's play the stupid or evil game.
Ooh.
Is it because he really thinks that it's not a problem, or is it he doesn't care if people die? Which
no, it's because he knows that with systems like this, he and his pals have a greater chance of getting voted out because Democrats came out and voted at a higher percentage turnout rate than Republicans, and that almost never happens. For it to happen in a primary is freaking huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Now, granted, and some people will say, "Oh, well, the Republicans didn't have as much to send them to the polls because Mitch McConnell was always going to win. It wasn't a real primary, whereas Democrats had, a lot of stuff going on their side, blah blah blah." But that doesn't matter because history shows us that even when we've had super competitive races in the past, Republicans have still always come out in a higher percentage, always. And so to have this happen now in a primary, it brings a lot of hope for what could be in what things are likely to look like in November.
It's a light at the end of the tunnel in November.
It is. And that's the drive behind this push to beat it back. The fact of the matter is, and Twitter's my crack. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whose post I go on to. I've yet to get a response from this, right? And it's that paper ballots, the mail-in ballots, are have more accountability than hackable voting machines.
True.
It's been proven time and time and time again because you have that paper trail. And no one, not one of these Republicans, not anybody else who's spoken up about it, has been able to contradict that. Nobody has come out with any proof to the contrary.
Proof? You don't need proof. You just make wild accusations.
Right.
Look at you
And the
talking
fact
logic.
that there's voter fraud, true voter fraud in the United States, the occurrence is like 0.001. I mean, some ridiculously low number because it almost never happens. The Secretary of State himself couldn't point to a single incident in the entire state. And yet we have, Kentucky's own horse's ass out here saying we need to return to normal. Plus, not only is he advocating that with his return to normal, he's also going to all these interim committee meetings and doing everything in his world without wearing a mask.
Nice.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either.
See, that puts me on the stupid side. But I don't know, evil. I don't know. It could be both.
It almost makes you want to. They should have a how they used to have chicken pox parties for kids. They should have a COVID party for those guys.
Yeah,
and that's what would have happened if Bevin would have still been governor.
Since you don't believe in masks and you think it's fine, that's fine. You all get together and hang out and do your thing, and we'll see how that works out for you.
Right. I mean, there's a section of hell right now that is freezing over and donkeys are flying because even McConnell is pushing for masks.
I know. I saw that.
Saying that.
I mean, you've seen his face.
I saw that tweet, from McConnell saying everybody should wear a mask. It's not a political thing. First, I had to look and see, is this a fake McConnell account? And then I saw that it was really his account that he said that on, the actual Mitch McConnell on Twitter. And I'm like, okay, we have obviously fallen through some wormhole into an alternate universe.
You guys, have you seen his face? Wouldn't you want to cover that too?
Yeah, but the bug eyes are still out there.
I mean, that's the thing. Their dear leader, the dude who holds the purse strings, the dude who pulls all the legislative strings all the way down to the state level, whether people want to admit it or not, he's advocating for it, and the minions have not caught up yet.
Yep.
So I sit here and I see this, and I'm like, you are just, he's a heartless bastard. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if your grandma dies. He doesn't care if your child that's immunocompromised dies. He doesn't care. He just wants his horse track open so that he doesn't have to keep watching the races virtually while wearing his, Monopoly Man suit. And looking like a jackass.
Monocle and all.
Monopoly Man actually does not have a monocle.
I know. I know.
Sorry.
I remember that.
He's got that redonkulous top hat, for God's sake. And
Yes,
we've
he
all
does.
seen that picture of Thayer.
If
Lord.
you have not seen Demon Thayer in his top hat, do yourself a favor and look it up.
Don't
Yeah.
don't do it.
Do it. It's great.
Don't do it.
I
With
just
the
wanna-
mustache on
well,
there, maybe.
I can't say anymore because I'm gonna go into really bad territory. But okay,
All right, that's a well-deserved
deserved.
cow patty for the demon. All right, Amy, why don't you go next?
Sure. Well, it's another show favorite of ours. One of our junior senator from Kentucky, Senator
God.
Paul. And I know he's earned a few in the past, but this one is kind of just a little bit above outrageous to the absurd. So the story basically is that he wanted to argue with one of our top, immune disease doctors in the whole country about what we should be doing to address this pandemic. And he wants to dismiss the opinions of experts because, everybody has an opinion. So why should we give it more weight if it comes from an expert? Which, if you just think about that statement for a second, you can probably come up with the reason why.
Is he a lawyer?
He is an eye doctor.
Oh, he's an eye doctor. That's right. See, lawyers would understand the difference between expert opinion and opinion, you would think.
Right. Well, he goes on to say that his answer to this pandemic is that we just need to be a little more optimistic about things.
Optometristic?
Yeah. Put on your rose-colored glasses, kids. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still going to be a pig.
Turn that frown upside down, and that'll take care of COVID.
Well, he got through it, so, while exposing, the whole chamber
to
the disease. So yeah, he's got my cow patty for this.
Well deserved cow patty. He has so many. He must have a very well fertilized garden by now.
Yeah, the neighbors complaining about all that shit.
Oh, don't get his neighbors involved.
That's what I was just gonna say.
He doesn't get along with the neighbors.
Hey, fun fact. I used to be a neighbor to Mitch McConnell. I lived a block away from him.
Oh, God.
Is that really fun?
The greatest thing when he makes these comments and they go viral on social media is inevitably it always comes back to his neighbor, and it's worth reading the comments just for levity, just to have that break, because it is so funny. And I read one from a lady that I'd never seen comment before that I lost it. I mean, completely lost it, because she's like, I forget what his exact words were, but it was something about the virus. And she's like, she said,
it must have been funny.
She says, well, he ought to know he's the worst virus of all.
That's great.
And then the very next comment was, we need to get his neighbor back out there. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Left in Kentucky
Harsh.
does not condone any form of violence against anyone.
This is true. We do not.
Oh, God. I'm done.
So moving on. Well-deserved cow patty there. Good luck with your garden there, Rand. So my cow patty,
dun, dun, dun.
dun, 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 fresh in the news. There was actually not fresh in the news. There was a court filing on June 1st in Boone County Circuit Court, where the Florence Speedway Little Links to Learning Daycare Center in Fort Mitchell and Beans Cafe and Bakery in Dry Ridge are suing Bashir and others to overturn the restrictions on COVID-19, the COVID-19 restrictions on businesses. Yeah. So these three companies have decided that, the saving people from COVID-19 and trying to prevent the spread is onious. Sorry. and
beautiful word.
They are looking to, have filed to get that overturned. And not only that, but Kentucky's Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, is trying to join the lawsuit on the plaintiff's side to also get it overturned.
Makes you glad that Andy's a lawyer.
Yeah. It reminds me of that one press conference where somebody asked Andy about being sued for restrictions. And he was like, bring it on.
Right.
I'm a lawyer. I've been sued before. Bring it on.
Yep.
Yeah, but here's the problem is that they are specifically now, the way that this is coming down is the Republican legislators are helping to direct this effort by choosing businesses specifically within judges that they already know are friendly to their beliefs.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why some of these cases, and of course, my favorite, Stepford Barbie legislator.
I know who this is.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Right.
See my big gun.
She is just like left and right. Every time one of these cases comes out, oh, he lost again. Oh, he lost again. And you read it and it's just like, I question how these judges ever got put into the position that they're in. And it makes me feel like, we've all been under a cloud for so freaking long that, it's been overtaken. The judiciary has been overtaken in Kentucky long before we started worrying about what McConnell's doing at the federal level, because some of these, judgments are just, they're not constitutionally sound.
Yeah.
It's the good old boy network.
It is, because, precedent is there that serving the greater good, the greater health of everyone in the state has always come out on top, as it should.
Yeah.
People's lives matter more than any single business. There are things that can and should be done, to help so that we don't lose all those businesses. I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you right now on this case, the fact that there's a daycare center involved.
Yep.
If I had a child young enough to be in daycare, you can bet your sweet ass that I would never take that child to a daycare center that was fighting to have these kinds of things removed, because I would no longer consider my child safe there.
Exactly.
So they're gonna lose money no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, that's stupid. That's cutting off your nose to spite your face. When working with children, whether as a teacher in the classroom or working with young kids in a daycare center, the number one part of my job is to make those kids safe, make that environment safe, make their parents feel secure.
What?
I mean,
you're concerned about the safety of the children?
That's not capitalism.
I just can't. I just can't with these people anymore.
It's spite, like you said, spite your face.
Point.
Yeah, and
they're mad.
And the additional defendants in the lawsuits, it's not just Bashir. So Bashir's named, but also the Northern Kentucky Independent Health District is named. The director of that organization, and its director, the director of that organization, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services Secretary, Eric Friedlander, and the Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Stephen Stack, are all also named in the lawsuit as defendants.
It's spite. They don't
Well,
like that those guys are popular. That
well, it's not just
like-
that. It's stupid. It is stupid because by definition, their very jobs make them the experts in the field to make decisions based on health. There is no way that you name all those people and actually believe you have a shot at winning. This is a publicity stunt.
Mhm.
Yep. No, absolutely. It is. I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't going to go anywhere. You know, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So it just comes up. It comes up the court systems, and they get to make a point and rally the
They
base
get their
around
tweets. Yep.
Yeah.
They get their tweets in or whatever. Yeah.
it. Yep. So those groups, and once again, just so that you can make note of that, that's the Florence Speedway, Little Links to Learning Daycare Center in Fort Mitchell, and Beans Cafe and Bakery in Dry Ridge. They are my recipients of the Cow Patty Award for this week.
Moo.
Moo. All right. Moving on to better news. Better news.
Well, we have a
Bullhorns.
bullhorn. Yay.
So tell us about our bullhorn, Amy.
Well, I would like to give a big congratulatory bullhorn to the voters in the state of Kentucky for turning out for this primary. You guys did a wonderful job. Let's double it, triple it in November.
Yeah, so turnout was for one, for a primary, and two, for a primary where the main way of voting was mail-in. We ended up with what were the numbers again, Ann? You had the numbers. It was 30.
32. It was 32% for Democrats, and it was like 28% for Republicans.
Yeah. In a primary, that's amazing. Is it a record? No, but it's darn close. 2008 set the record, but it was darn close to that.
Yeah, and one of the things to look at, if you remember, 2 years ago when we were sitting here in 2018, we were all bemoaning the fact that Kenton County, Boone County, Campbell County, the big three up here, all fell to the bottom 5 counties in the state in terms of primary turnout.
Yep.
In fact, Kenton County was the very lowest in the entire state at 10%.
Yep.
All of them were over 20%.
Yeah.
So more than double the turnout. And a lot of people are going to say, well, it's a presidential year. We had this big U.S. Senate race. I don't give two flying you-know-whats about what the motivation is. The fact of the matter is we got more people, over double the amount of people out there. More people are paying attention. And now we need to capitalize on that. We need to expand that. We need to keep those people engaged and energized and keep spreading it. Although I wish it would wait until it didn't always wait until the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I was very happy with that. The other thing is that Franklin County, which is where Frankfort is, it's where our state capital is, had the highest turnout in the state, and it was well over 40%, almost 50%.
Wow.
So we need graphics all over the place. Be like Franklin County.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's great that we're where we're at. Now we need to keep pushing, and we need to make it even better.
You need to let your representatives know that you want mail-in voting in November.
Yep.
You demand it.
Absolutely. So excellent bullhorn. Well earned there. And that transitions us nicely into, actually, I'm going to play the bullhorn sound one more time because it makes Ann laugh.
It makes me want to drink. I don't know why. Like I should be giving a toast, like around the table with the Vikings and stuff. Is that too specific?
In my head of some like old video game. You know what I mean?
Oh, but that transitions us nicely into discussing the the primary results that we just had after a week after the primary, which it took a week to get all the mail-in ballots counted. So before we even talk about the specific results, I want to talk about what an amazing job Kentucky actually did in this primary with the mail-in voting, and it has now become a model for the other states. There are other states calling Kentucky to go, how did you do it?
And you would know it by looking at the newspapers and headlines and stuff.
Now, were there issues? Yes, there were issues. Absolutely, there were issues. But overall, it was handled as well as I think could be better than could be expected under the circumstances, with such a short time frame to plan for it and to make adjustments.
I hope that they keep all those in place, all those mechanisms in place for November.
When do
You just know it's going to be profound when
I know. I was just going to say, that always prefaces something epic from Anne, so now the pressure's on.
when do I ever not risk stepping in it? But at the risk of doing so, here I go.
And we're going in.
That narrative was pushed in a way it should not have been, and it did not come from the media. Okay, but media outside of the state especially picked up on it and ran with it, as did certain famous people who thought that they were, I guess, helping.
Right.
But I want to give a massive, this should also be, Roberto, one of our good awards. I want to give a huge shout out to Philip Bailey and Joe Zonka, both political reporters from the Courier-Journal, because they stayed on top of that story and they made sure that the truth was getting out. And they were continually beating the drum of quit with this narrative because it's not true.
Yes.
So I give them mad props, because they really did a phenomenal job of saying this just is not the case. We knew the system wasn't going to be perfect because of all of the conditions that led to it being what it was. And, I'm also going to give credit to Michael Adams,
Sure.
Yep.
Because he went against his party. Yeah. And he went against he had a shit ton. That man was probably getting screamed at every single day by members of the legislature who belonged to his party, because they didn't believe in doing any of this. And I give him a ton of credit for putting people first.
Right. Yep.
I might not agree with him on much, but on this I certainly did. And it was, there's a certain amount of courage that goes into him taking the stance that he did and proving that it could be done. Now, unfortunately, when you have Damon Thayer and all these others now stepping up with their bullhorn about normal in November, it appears as if Adams is now starting to cave a bit.
Right.
However, with the numbers that are not going down and staying down, with the first wave has never ended. We haven't left the peak yet, which people don't seem to understand, which means that the first wave is going to actually run into the second wave. Come November,
it's a tidal wave.
It is a tidal wave. And they don't have the sense God gave a goose to even think about that.
Have you ever been stalked by a goose? I mean, those guys
they're mean.
Brutal.
But at least we have this in place. And I think that, Michael Adams has to at least have some intelligence to have gotten to the position that he's at. he has to at least be objective enough to look at everything that went down and the way it went down and know where certain pitfalls were. So I look at the primary as more of a test run for the general, because I think fixing those pitfalls is easier than trying to, rebuild the wheel, so to speak.
Yep.
So on very short notice, I think those changes could be implemented, and I hope that is a continual drumbeat in the back of his mind. But my point is that this narrative was a narrative that was pushed. It was deliberately pushed, and people need to keep that in mind.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I think we also need to, we need to seriously look at the places where there were issues, because where there were issues, they were bad. Like Louisville
Right.
was a bad situation for the voting.
Yes.
The traffic trying to get there to vote was backed up for hours. And those people ended up being denied the ability to vote.
Yes.
They only kept the polls open, I think, for a half hour past 6. I think they only stayed open till 6:30, and they gave no consideration for the traffic issue.
Okay, that's not really true though. And again, this is a part of looking at the truth and a part of looking at the reporting that came out.
Yeah.
Because anybody whose car was in line by 6:00, they marked the line. And so those people got in because it was only like a half hour long, which is why they only extended voting by a half an hour. And in fact, Booker's people filed, wanted to get an injunction to leave polls open till 9:00. But the fact of the matter is that the judge drove there herself. And how many judges would do that? So I'm going to give mad props to her too. Drove there herself to see firsthand what the situation was like. And then based on what she saw and the people who were there, denied continuing that injunction until 9:00. And she followed the letter of the law. And she wrote it, hand wrote it. It's in cursive writing that I can't read. Which is pretty rare because I'm pretty good at that. So for me not to be able to read it, I knew she was probably writing on her steering wheel. But, she hand wrote the order denying that injunction. For a judge to go to that level, it shows that, she recognized what a serious situation this was. And she took everything into consideration. The other thing is that, they talk about how the doors were locked and there was a video of people rushing
banging
in.
on the doors and
Right. But let me explain, look at it in context, okay? The people that they let in were those people who had already been in line with their cars by 6:00, which is the cutoff time. So they were in line, they got to go, there ended up being about 100 people. Now put that in context of the fact that the entire rest of the totality of the day, 10,000 people voted there.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta, you can't just look at that one piece of it.
I think that they could probably be able to open a few more places in voting places in cities like Louisville and Lexington.
Now that I do agree with. I think that, we all know that the population in Louisville is, it's the biggest urban center in the state. It's the largest concentration of population that we have in the entire state.
Yep.
So should there be more than one place open for them? Most certainly. I don't think anyone would deny that. But the fact that they got 10,000 people through that one place in one 12-hour day.
Oh yeah, I think it went very smoothly from personal anecdotes I've heard from people that went and voted there that day.
Right. And
it was very
it's not
smooth.
saying either that, I don't believe anybody's right to vote should be clipped or anything like that. I'm saying that I just don't think it was the magnitude that people tried to make it out to be based on the reporting that I have seen from people who live in Louisville.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. Alrighty. So with that, let's talk about some of the actual results, particularly as they pertain to District 4, since District 4 is our focus. Why don't we start off with the congressional race, primary race between Dr. Alexandra Owensby, and Shannon Fabert. I think most people know that Dr. Owensby won that fairly handily by about a 60-40. I think it was like 58-42 or something like that, but basically a 60-40 variance. Thoughts about that race and that result?
I think that Alexandra got her name out there a little more successfully. Based on my limited social media presence, I very limited social media. But I just felt like she did a better job. And that, her being a nurse sort of upped her profile a bit.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're both wonderful people and would be infinitely better than Thomas Massey. But I think those two things kind of gave her the edge.
Yeah, I think she got out early. She definitely got out early and got her name around. And then she had a particularly popular exchange with Thomas Massey and some of the Massey supporters on his Twitter account. And I think that's where her campaign really gained a lot of followers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people seeing that, hey, she's willing to go toe to toe and take him on and take on people like that. I think that impressed a lot of people. So I think she picked up people there.
Hey, Ian, are you banned from Thomas Massey's Twitter? Or did you see it?
No.
She's banned from Damon Thayer's.
Yeah. I'm banned from Thayer's. I'm banned from his campaign account. I'm banned from his Facebook page. He has banned me across the board. Maybe we do have a thing. What do you know?
Yeah.
I think this race, I think it came down to exactly what you guys talked about. Number one, Alexander got out there months ahead of Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and she was visiting, the counties furthest away from us, because she was down in Boyd County and Ashland, and she was all the way down in the Louisville metro area and the crap.
Sure.
What's my O County?
Oldham.
Thank you. God, tongue tied.
Big win in Oldham County.
She was down in Oldham County. Well, she had Seth Hall's support. He's the chair of the Oldham County Democrats, and he ran for the same office in 2018, and he endorsed her for this race.
Yep.
Although the split there wasn't as big as it was in other counties, because she took Oldham County by about 500, just under 500.
Mm-hmm.
Split was bigger in other counties. But I think, like I said, she just got it out there earlier. I didn't even know about Shannon, I don't think, until maybe November, December of last year.
Yeah.
But I knew about Alexandra last summer. So that's a giant span of time to be out there. And as for her, exchange with Thomas Massey, I don't know if impressed is the word I would use, but it isn't. It certainly garnered her a boatload of attention. Know, whether shock, I think would be a good word.
I was going to say, I remember the word you used at the time, but I won't mention it now.
You just don't see that. You don't see candidates going after each other in that way, on each other's pages and stuff like that. So shock was certainly involved. And maybe there is, I definitely think there is something about the electorate this year, and I've seen it in every race, where there's just a desire. People want to see, and I'll use your words, Roberto, because they were spot on. People want to see that fight. You
Yeah.
know, they want to see that their candidates are ready for battle. Good
That's because
Lord.
there's no baseball or football. Seriously.
No, I think it's because they want to know that their representative is going to stand up for them. They know it's going to be a tough battle if they get elected, and they want somebody that can fight if they need to.
Yeah, and doesn't just kind of gloss over, smooth everything over, and
Yeah.
make everything pretty. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. And I would say that combination of things definitely, played in her favor. I also agree with Amy. There's something about, with us being in the middle of a pandemic, that we have a nurse, an actively working nurse, who's running for this office. And, healthcare is a number one concern for the vast majority of Kentuckians. So all of these things played in her favor. I don't think any of that negates Shannon's quality as a candidate, because I do think, they're both exceptional women. I think both of them have the potential for having a long
Yes.
career in politics if they want it, because they're
I hope
both
Shannon
high
runs for
quality.
something.
Yeah, I
else.
mean, they're both just high quality, kind, caring, smart, savvy women who could do a lot for Kentucky, who could do a lot for the people in District 4 in any capacity that they chose to follow.
Yep. All right.
And I would actively support both of them without question.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about the Senate race, where we have.
Oh, do we have to?
I think there's a little bit of interest in our Senate race this year. I've heard from a couple of people that there might be interest outside of the state even in our Senate race.
Oh, I'm sure.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So aside from the 20 some odd people we had running, I know it wasn't really 20, but it was close to 20. We had basically three main candidates in that race, and that of course was Amy McGrath and Charles Booker and Mike Breuer. I think everybody's probably aware that Amy McGrath won the nomination in a very close, what came down to be a very close vote between her and Charles, who came on very strong in the last month or so. So what do you think about this race? I know I think we had candidates that were running very hard. I think Mike and Charles both campaigned very hard in the primary. And Amy, I didn't see what I would consider really hard campaigning from her in the primary. I don't know if it was a case of she thought she had it in the bag or what.
I think she's just not very good at it. I hate to say it, but
not very good at campaigning.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't think that's it?
Nope.
This would have been a very different race if it had been in Bay. I can tell you that.
Yes. That's, 3 weeks ago, what we saw would not have taken place. And for some reason, that has escaped 99% of the people.
Hey, I'm a part of the 1% finally.
You are the 1% now.
Each one of them, of the top three, each one of them had a different path to get to a win, and played the game differently. Everybody wants to focus on the fact that Amy McGrath had all this money. And we all
she does have a lot of money.
She does, but 97% 97%
97.
comes from outside the state of Kentucky.
Yep.
Yes.
Which, and people say, signs don't vote. People say money doesn't vote. But here's the thing. They chose, and I don't think this was just her doing or her decision, because she has 57 million quote unquote experts around her and people giving her advice and everything else. They chose to run this campaign as a general campaign from the beginning.
Mhm.
They never ran it like a primary campaign.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that's very, very clear from the fact that despite the overwhelming majority that Booker took in Louisville, she was able to offset this is crazy when you look at these numbers. She was able to offset his Lexington win with just Kenton County.
Wow.
And I don't know that a lot of people realize that. But here's the other thing that elevates, thank you, Jesus, is the importance of Northern Kentucky. This is going to be the second year in a row that Northern Kentucky makes or breaks a race.
It's
I
so
agree.
funny. I can hear you just.
I know you hear you
the
banging.
table. You're
Well,
beating the table.
it's like, how much more proof do you need when just one of our counties offset Fayette County, which has never happened before that I know of? But man, I'd be willing to spend some time looking into that next year when we have nothing to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, I think you can say, I mean, candidates historically in Kentucky have ignored Northern Kentucky, thinking that Northern Kentucky doesn't matter. They've always focused on Louisville, Lexington, and sometimes the mountains.
Not really.
No,
I mean,
these
you
are the
have to
Golden
go
Triangle.
back. Yeah, you have to go back to then. You have to go back, and you have to look
but
at
you're
the
going back
fact
20
that,
years.
okay, but you've had the same people in the state with some minor jockeying. You've had the same people in the state running the Democratic Party for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Well, Ben's
And
new. Ben Self is new.
It's like
I said some minor jockeying. Jeez. I mean, anybody that's come in new since we've been new, I don't really count, right?
Okay.
Because you're looking at a strategy now. You're looking at the way things have gone down over the last 20, maybe even 25 years, where, we used to be the pinnacle of the Golden Triangle, and we have lost all but 4 seats the Democrats used to have in all of Congressional District 4.
Mm-hmm.
From Louisville Metro over to Ashland, all but 4. And one of those is just a recent pickup. I mean, Dr. Karenberg's spectacular special election win was the first time that a Democrat has held that seat in 25 years.
Yeah, that was amazing. So happy for that.
She was such a great candidate, though.
Me too. But, it just kind of further backs up my point that for so long there has been this same mentality, the same strategy, the same thinking, and it's not going to win anymore. And the sooner people understand that and start changing the ways that they look at these races, we're doomed to a future of nothing but Republican rule and all this crap that we have going on until people are willing to say, hey, wait, maybe you have a point. Yeah. Or, hey, wait, what if we turn the box this way?
Yeah.
But even a tiny change.
Even with the new strategy and stuff, I mean, we still have a hard time getting candidates to focus on Northern Kentucky again. I mean, even this year, when, as we were putting together the forum back in February and March before the plague hit, we still had to have a lot of conversations with campaigns to lock that in and make
Yep.
that going of, you need to come up here to Northern Kentucky and you need to talk to people and you need to have a presence up here.
Right. And yeah. I mean, I don't know, but the thing is, the one thing that the primary forced the McGrath campaign to do that I know that they was not a part of their original plan is the amount of money that she did have to spend on the primary down the stretch.
Yeah.
However, that giant bankroll allowed her to do it.
Yeah.
The most expensive media market in the state of Kentucky is the Nashville market, which covers that bottom row of counties across the Kentucky-Tennessee border. And they sunk what, $2 million into ads just down there.
Wow.
No other campaign had the capacity to do that.
No.
And that's fine. That kind of falls back on that primary strategy a little bit, or at least it gave her more options than anybody else ever had.
Yep.
So, but now she's got to answer for this, how does she transition now to the general, because she's been running a general race all along, and it shows the crack. I mean, it shows how she didn't garner 50% of the vote on her own.
Yeah.
So
she didn't get a mandate.
And here's another thing, another heads up for all campaigns, right? Of the top three, Mike Breuer came in first in terms of the amount of money he spent per vote. He spent less money per vote than Amy McGrath and less money per vote than Charles Booker. In fact, Charles Booker spent the most money per vote.
I thought Amy ended up spending the most money per vote.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'll look at it. I'll look at it again, but still, it just goes to show,
I know what I would really like to see from Amy is I would like to see her really take notice of what happened in this primary and how close she came to losing the primary, and really honestly engage with the progressive groups of Kentucky. That is something I have not seen her campaign do. Not engage and be reluctant to be part of, it seems like. And I get it. She's a moderate Democrat, whatever. That is what it is. But if she has any hope of actually winning this election against Moscow Mitch, she really has to, I think, engage those progressive elements honestly and openly across the state of Kentucky and really take that to heart.
I will agree with you, but I think she has a bigger problem than the progressive groups.
And what do you think that is?
I think she needs to spend a boatload of time in Louisville, in Lexington, in other counties where, you have a community, any size community of Black folks, because she offended them point blank on several occasions. This wasn't just a one-time thing. I mean, she virtually smacked him in the face a few times. And I'm sorry, but whoever is doing her Twitter account needs to be fired immediately. Immediately. Because they're terrible. The tweets that she puts out, that campaign puts out, are just tone deaf, insensitive, stupid, and are causing her more headaches than she needs. So I don't know who her digital media manager is. I don't know who her specific Twitter handler is, but they need to have a come to Jesus moment, and Jesus needs to win.
Yeah.
Because it's really bad. you just can't keep walking into it when all the evidence is right there in front of you. I mean, first they were invited for her to speak on the Jones Report, and Jones Media is owned by Kimberly Cecil Jones. She's a Black woman in Louisville who has,
Yep.
just a significant amount of respect and presence and everything in that community.
She's awesome.
She's amazing. And to deny an opportunity to say no, we can't fit that in our schedule. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not say we will clean anything off our schedule to be there? That's
because
only
these people
acceptable
aren't
response.
from Kentucky and they have no idea.
That's the only acceptable response. But then, you had the whole thing with the flub at the KET forum where she was asked point blank if she had been out and any of the protests and stuff, and it was this stuttering, stumbling. Oh well,
How does she not expect that question? That's why I know.
Right.
How does her handlers not send her into that interview prepared for that question?
Right. Okay. So there's firing number 2 from her staff because clearly there is, and that's probably either communication team person or a political team person or both. But clearly someone not in touch with reality is giving her horrendous advice. And folks, we've been down this road before. We went down this road with Allison Grimes. I'm not burning at the stake again.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just like if you're a Democrat in Kentucky right now, you have deja vu on a daily fucking basis. Excuse my language, but I'm just off my chain now. I cannot stand one more thing. It's like there's no more.
Oh, there's going to be one more thing.
She's a woman on the edge.
I'm telling you. Buckle
for
up.
24 hours, shut your campaign down, shut your top staff in a room with yourself, and have a real meeting about all of these things. And if anybody on that team is from D.C., giving you advice about how to talk to people in Kentucky about issues in Kentucky, send them back to D.C. because this isn't working. And
she needs to hire Mike.
I think what you see is, and this happens on all campaigns, right? All big campaigns like that. People come from other campaigns around the country, and they move from campaign to campaign. And I know that, Amy's campaign has picked up. I'm sure she's picked up a lot of really good people, like from Elizabeth Warren's campaign or any of the others that fell out. I know the Yang Gang went to Breuer's campaign, or a number of them did. I don't know if any of the other groups, but I'm sure they've gotten some of those. And there needs to be
some Bloomberg people, I think.
We hear. Thanks for that. In the primaries, right? You hear about, Iowa politics is unlike any other politics, and you got to know Iowa, and Iowa's just different, and Iowa's Iowa, and then New Hampshire's New Hampshire politics, and New Hampshire's New Hampshire, and I think that's all true. But why is it when we get to the late states, suddenly everybody thinks it's a cookie cutter and they know what's going on in these states, like Kentucky?
Right. It campaigns, politics in general is especially at the federal level, is very incestuous.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're talking about, well, let's say this big race level, because I would include like governorships and things like that.
Yeah.
It's exactly like you said. It's very incestuous, where the same people move around state to state to work on campaigns. The vast majority of them college students or college aged who have a background in political science, and they've learned the best way to do organizing with campaigns, or they've learned the best and the newest way to do direct voter contact, whatever that may be. And it gets it just spreads from one to the others to where now everybody's doing text messages, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing it just that's the nature of the beast. But the problem is, and maybe I'm the only one that thinks this way, the problem comes with messaging and people to people, that
targeted demographics
within a given area. For example, like Roberto was talking about, I don't know if you would put this under the political director, the communications director, or what, but I think you need to have a minimum of one person on each one of those teams at a high level who is from the state that you live in. You need people who know how to talk to their own people.
Yep.
How we talk about healthcare in Kentucky is going to be different from how they talk about healthcare in New York. I don't care if you're pushing the same thing. I don't care what your position is. If you're a Medicare for all or a single payer, or if you're a ACA person, whatever it is, how you talk, I do not ever foresee myself being able to go to New York and talk to people about it.
Right.
But I know I can go into Kentucky and talk to people about it, because I know I can put it into terms that, the people that grew up hearing the same kinds of things that I heard all the time will understand. And, what we're seeing is a direct result of too many outsiders having an opinion, because too many outsiders are at those higher level positions.
And I think it's okay for I think it's okay for outsiders to come in and have opinions and offer advice and stuff like that. But there needs to be that person that says that listens to that advice and says, okay, I hear what you're saying. I think we might be able to adapt that for Kentucky, but we need to do it this way, because in Kentucky, you can't say pop, you have to say Coke. You know what I mean?
Right. People will look at you with a side eye.
Yeah.
If you say pop.
Yes. And that's, and I agree with you, Roberto. I didn't mean to say you can't ever bring anybody. No. I mean, I worked with last year on the statewide coordinated campaign. I worked with amazing kids from all over the country. Love them to death. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't trade any of them for the price of tea in China. They were all hard workers. They knew what they were doing. They knew what field organizing was about. But I can tell you that every single one of them at one point in the campaign or another over the months that we were together, either we sat as one and had a conversation, or they came to me individually and said, okay, this is what we're supposed to be talking about. How should I say that here? Because I'm getting some weird looks if I say X, Y, Z.
Right.
So that's why you need that. Exactly. On every campaign at every level. There needs to be at least one voice that has a prominence that can say, okay, now and even in Kentucky, and I talk about this all the time, how territorial it is.
Yeah.
The way we talk about an issue up here in northern Kentucky in, say, Fort Mitchell, it's going to be very different from how I talk about the same thing when I go out with, Virginia Maher down in Breathitt County in eastern Kentucky.
Yep.
The way we approach people, even within the state, is very different. So you always need, that local voice to help you. And right now, what her campaign needs more than anything is some healing in Louisville. Yep. As I told somebody a couple weeks back, whoever won this race, I said, not only do we need to win Louisville, but it needs to be won with a minimum of the same numbers that we had last year. We actually, because it's the presidential year with Trump at the top of the ticket, we actually need more votes out of Louisville than that. Yeah. And the way things sit right now, she ain't going to get it. And there aren't enough independents. There aren't enough suburban soccer moms to make up that difference.
Yeah.
There just aren't. Even though those two areas are actually where the electorate is moving right now.
Right.
I mean, it's the suburban women are the ones, and independents are the ones that are shifting to the Democratic side and to these, kinder, gentler positions, if you will. But there aren't enough of them in Kentucky to overcome significant not votes not turning out in Louisville.
Yep.
We got to get over the apathy.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we've covered the big news from the primary. Hope the advice is heeded, and to Amy McGrath's campaign, that advice is all free of charge. Anything else, you can give us a call, and we'll be happy to give you our rate sheet.
Negotiate a fee.
The first level of advice is free. The rest you have to pay for.
Hilarious. Well, and now is the time, it's so funny because with the primary being pushed back, normally the primary is at the end of May, and June is a breather.
Right.
June is a take a week off,
Yep.
regroup, start planning a little bit, and get ready to hit the ground running in July. Well, today's July 1st.
Yeah, we're taking this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there's no rest for the wicked. There's no, everybody's got to get over their feelings, get in the game, and let's go right now.
Pick a candidate, people. Pick a candidate.
Yep.
People need to pick a candidate.
So
and
find a campaign.
Yeah, and there are plenty of them at both, the state house level, the state senate level, the congressional level, the senate level, the presidential level. There is everything out there. It's a smorgasbord of campaigns. Pick one.
Yep.
Including our own Roberto Henriquez,
yes.
running in the 66th district.
Yes, I am, and I would be more than happy to have your help. And that's the thing. Find a campaign to work on. I'd love to have you on my campaign. You want to come work on my campaign, let me know. But find a campaign to work on. Find a state-level campaign. I will tell you, if you're trying to figure out where to put your efforts, the state campaigns are always starved for people. We always need people, especially during these years when we have presidential campaigns and Senate campaigns, because they take a lot of the people, a lot of people.
Yes, they do.
And so the state level campaigns get even more starved for help and volunteers. And I know I'm on a state level campaign, and of course I'd like that, but even if it's not mine, I highly encourage you to get involved in a state level campaign. If you want to split your time, give 5 hours a week to a state level campaign and give 5 hours a week to a federal level campaign. But really think about that and really try to help out the state level campaigns, because that affects your daily life more than the federal campaigns.
Absolutely.
And get people registered to vote and excited about voting.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, I'm more of, and you know this, I mean, there's tons of groups out there, tons of people that talk about registering people, but in all honesty, that's not the problem. I mean, we're talking about how great it is that Democrats turned out at 32%. That means 68% of registered Democrats were not involved in the process. That number of people is way higher than any new people that we're ever going to register. We need
to get excitement levels up.
Yeah, we need to reach them. We need to be reaching out to these people that either rarely or never engage in the system and say, hey, why aren't you involved? And what can I do to get you there?
Yep.
What do you need to get there? Because I'm happy to help you in any way that I can.
Absolutely.
That has to be number one. The other thing, and I'm going to play off what you said, Roberto, is because I did have a few people contact me yesterday about volunteering, and the number one step is for everyone to be honest with themselves. Look at your current schedule. Look at what whether you have kids, a job, outside activity, whatever it is. Take an honest look at your schedule so that you can say how many hours per week you can give. and then decide which activities you can and are willing to do versus those you aren't. Because nothing's worse than a campaign, you signing up for a campaign and not giving them that idea. And then they want to obviously push you to do more and more and more. And then you get overwhelmed and then you walk away and you don't volunteer anymore. We can't afford to lose a single volunteer, but it all starts with the volunteer. So be honest. Hey, I've only got, 4 hours a week I can give. I'll give you 2 hours on Saturday and I'll give you 2 hours on Wednesday night. And, I'm an introvert. I really don't like to talk to people a lot, but I know that I can text, or I know I can write letters to the editor, or I know I can write postcards, or I know I can deliver things without having to knock on doors. Anything that doesn't involve me directly talking to people. The more honest you can be, the better it helps campaigns plan.
Yep.
And the less likely you are to get frustrated with getting sucked up into all of it and feeling guilty. Oh, I can't do more. No. We all have our limits. And we all have things that we can and can't do. If you're a chatty Cathy like me, hey, sign me up for the phone bank. I love talking to people.
Nah.
I'll do 4 hours every Saturday, and I'll do, an extra 4 hours on Tuesday, whatever your schedule is. Just know yourself, be honest with yourself, be honest with the campaigns, and then get involved. And if you don't know where to go, contact us. We'll help you.
We will.
We'll help you connect to the campaigns in specific to your area.
Yep.
So that you can help the best that you can.
Yeah, we're trying to encourage Ann to come out of her shell a little bit.
I know,
she's a little shy.
She's too shy.
So that's going to wrap it up for this week in Left in Kentucky. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure to share our podcast with your friends and your family and your enemies, for that matter. We will not be recording this weekend because it's July 3rd weekend, but we will be back recording the week after that. And I believe we have Jim Fiorelli, who's running for the state senate in Boone County again, running against John Schickel. So that'll be a good one. So he'll be with us when we come back after the 4th of July. So until then, everybody...
Stay safe, everyone. Stay home if you can.
Stay healthy.
Wear a mask when you go out.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely wear a mask. Stay healthy. And we will talk to you later. Until then, this is Roberto Henriquez.
Amy Ferguson.
And Dickerson.
Just like having a cigar.
Left in Kentucky is the podcast of Indivisible Northern Kentucky.